So, what did you see this week? What's going on? What are your impressions? What's happening in the market?
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the market is very divided. Like seeing some properties that have been sitting for a really long time. I walk through those kind of properties and it's usually somewhat evident right off the bat, what's holding the property back. And then there's this other, tranche of properties that, are going pending in a couple weeks, have multiple offers on them. So, I think agents seem to be testing a lot of different pricing strategies and approaches, and some of them being more fruitful than others.
Cool. Yeah, I mean that mirrors a lot of what I'm seeing too. Um, I guess like the three kind of highlight points for me were a lot of like really great inventory, especially entry level inventory, just kind of like sitting there, hanging out, waiting to make a bid or for buyers to make a bid. Um, TIC rates are incredible right now as compared to condos. Like condos are, I think, are like at 5.5%. TICs were at 3.5 last week and are, I think, at 4 right now with certain banks. And I think the way that things are going, I mean, there's just going to be more and more opportunities as we kind of like ride the wave of seasonality, right? So like we just finished up September. That was kind of the beginning of our fall. October is prime time. November, things start to cool down. By Thanksgiving, everything's dead. And so, we'll see like what's hanging out kind of into the November, December time period. But it seems like there's going to be a lot of stuff available for people. Yeah, I guess that kind of like gets us into the specific properties that we saw on Tuesday on our tour. I handled the north side, you handled the south side. So I'll just kind of get talking. So yeah, I mean, kind of start off the day slowly, move my way through like Nob Hill, Russian Hill, and then ended up in the Marina around 10:30 in the morning. This was a really interesting story. I was kind of expecting just totally unsold properties, people not being able to move anything. And then I arrived at this property, and Kelly, the real estate agent here, was like, "Yeah, actually, we just got into contract yesterday. So thanks for stopping by. I wish I could sell this property to you, but as it so happens, somebody put in a bid, and that was pretty surprising given kind of what we're seeing in the rest of the market. Not surprising that this property, which is like right around the street from Balboa Cafe and the other popular haunts of Fillmore Street, the Gavin Newsom owned haunts, that it would go into contract pretty quick. In a regular market, I think you'd see like 5 offers, 8 offers on this thing. It'd be going well over list. But yeah, they were on for 2 weeks. They got an offer, and I think it was probably pretty close to where the list price is. So kind of goes to show that some of the better properties or some of the more desirable properties might still move in this market.
Okay, this is something I've been seeing, like, you know, buyers really focus in on how are like the 2 bedrooms. I didn't see this property myself. Are they 2 proper bedrooms, or is it, 1 bedroom and kind of like an office?
Yeah, really great question. I mean, definitely 2 proper bedrooms. The interesting thing about this property is that it's like an old Edwardian, and you can kind of see that from the front of the house. Um, but it was redone in the 90s, right? So like you have this like big mirror that nobody has anymore. You have this like fireplace surround with marble that nobody really does anymore, but still like more recent than 1906. And then these windows were totally redone, so that's really nice. Floor plan was opened up, and so through as kind of like the historical building, through this double parlor you have a bedroom, right? So that's the front of the house. Then you kind of walk through here. This is a double parlor. You can seal that off. This is a bedroom, and there it is, sealed off. It's got a nice closet, huge window. And then, yeah, I guess this space is the little office nook that it had, also at the front of the house. And then Yeah, here's the proper bedroom. So like 2 bedrooms plus that office nook. So really like a killer value that somebody got
Ex-
here.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say because I feel like in that price point, what we would have seen before is like, 1 bedroom and then a tiny little office that maybe sort of could be a bedroom, but probably more for like one person versus couple or a family.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's it's really incredible the value that people can get right now. And I think, that kind of takes us to a larger conversation topic. A lot of the buyers, and I don't know your clients, how you're dealing with this, but a lot of people that I'm seeing right now are like, hey, feels like things are going to keep going down for a long time. We're just kind of going to wait until we feel like the bottom is in. Um, and anytime I've seen that in the market before, inevitably buyers kind of overweight the bottom and then they're forced back into a bidding cycle when things are aggressively getting bid back up again. And people aren't really buying, um, in the best time for them, at least price wise. I don't know what you're seeing with your folks.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's pretty similar. And, the guidance that I would say is just what the Fed has been doing. There's such strong signals about rising interest rates. And, we've been seeing these three quarter of a point increases consistently. Doesn't seem like that's going to be slowing down. So it's like maybe you're trying to get in on the bottom, but if your interest rate is 2% higher than what it is right
Yeah,
now, then your total monthly payments are still going to be more.
totally. Yep. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, and so, I mean, from there, I kind of moved on to this property at 3132 Washington, which another like, beautiful old San Francisco building. There's 4 units in the building. It's right around the corner from Fillmore, kind of like that upper Fillmore area. Also, right around the corner from Sacramento Street, where you have like coffee shops and little galleries, restaurants, and stuff like that. So really great location. This one's a TIC. It's a 2 bed also, with classical detailings, but pretty clean. And talk to the agent. I mean, it's been on the market for a few weeks. It's listed at 1.095. So clearly they're motivated to sell the thing. It's got parking, bathrooms nice and clean. Not really like super redone, but for $1 million, this is a really, really nice property. Nice quartz countertops, redone kitchen, second bedroom, and like, laundry, but kind of crickets at this building. And especially with TIC rates where they are, in that 3.5 to 4% rate. If you think about an $800,000 mortgage, and it's pretty good.
Yeah,
See the floor plan right here. It's got some outdoor space. So,
nice.
thematically, like things have been on the market for a little bit. They're continuing to sit there and wait for a bid. I'm sure that sellers, are eager, and having been a seller in this market, I can tell you sellers are eager to get an offer. And there's a conversation to be had for those people who are willing to have it.
Yeah, yeah. I think what is tricky about TICs is just that, especially at this price point, a lot of people start looking at condos and then realize that there may be more value in a TIC. And then, but that kind of becomes a hurdle of going through a new process of, working with a different lender,
Right.
kind of really understanding the nuances of TICs. But, in situations like this, it makes sense to, open up that avenue because it seems like there is a lot of value there.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a good point, right? But like functionally living in a TIC, especially, a well-established one that's been running for years, like there's no real difference between that and a condo. The big difference traditionally has been that your rate, your loan was only available on an adjustable rate mortgage.
Mhm.
And And that rate was typically higher than what was for a condo. But now, you have a 30-year fixed product from some of these lenders. That rate tends to be a little bit higher for TICs, but your like 7-year adjustable rate mortgages are crazy low. I mean, especially what's going on with like more traditional financing. So I don't totally see the downside. I mean, especially at these prices, especially if you can get a price. They just went through $100,000 reduction on this property, but could you get it in the 900s? A 2-bed in prime Pacific Heights for 900 something thousand. Like that's pretty crazy. And then of course, like a totally different feel down in Hayes Valley. I saw this lot. It was a parking lot that got developed over the last few years by a prominent design build firm here in the city called DM Development. And they really did, I mean, a very nice job, right? Like everything's kind of like built into this cabinetry, super nice, linear, like easy stuff. For this kind of a thing, at the peak of the market, you're expecting to pay $1,600-$1,700 a square foot. And this is on the market for 1.3. This is a 2-bedroom that's about 950 square feet. So a market reduction in the dollar per square foot. The building itself is kind of an interesting building as well. It's got this rooftop, and they've got a virtual doorman. It doesn't really have a ton of amenities, but they're charging $1,200 a square foot in HOAs, which tends to be reserved for the buildings that are like serving you a continental breakfast. So kind of interesting in the way that was determined. Notably, and Jen, this, I'm not a huge fan of new construction. I think there's like, fit and finish risk that developers typically pass on to buyers. However, in this case, it's a boutique building and the owner is retaining a unit in the building. So the owner is going to be tied into this building for a long time. The owner's a patron of the arts, wanted to build this building for folks who are interested in being, in the center of the city, around the opera house, the symphony, all that kind of stuff. And so she's going to be coming in and staying in the building from time to time while she is attending performances.
Wow.
Kind of an interesting story, huh?
Yeah, that is super interesting. I think just also looking at these properties, it's interesting to see just kind of like the wide swath of what is available in a given price point.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, this is 1.3, as was, 2246 Greenwich. Now, 2246 Greenwich was a bigger property for sure, but this is brand new.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, how do you think about, the HOA fee? Because I feel like a lot of people will look at that, especially in terms of what you're getting in kind of bulk.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's important to do the math. Can you see this total cost sheet that I have?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, I think there's no real way to get around this question of like, well, I could have a property where my HOA dues are $400 a month, and that reduces my, housing cost burden by $800 a month. But I think, to your point, the question of what that $800 a month is getting you, right? Are you getting frequent maintenance on your property? Are you getting any of those additional goodies, which I guess in this property you're not? In a property like the Greenwich Street property, where the HOAs are going to be pretty low, a lot of things like if a roof goes bad, or if you have a problem with plumbing or some kind of major repair that you need to handle, you're going to be paying for that kind of stuff out of pocket. Whereas, with higher HOA fees, at least you got the benefit of a really healthy reserve over time that should go to pay for those kinds of things. But what's interesting about this sheet, you can also kind of like play around with stuff and see, okay, I'm paying 1.3 for the property now. And on a condo, my loan is at like 5.5%. It's not an interest only loan. The term is 30 years. I have 12 payments a year. My HOA fees, let's just use 311 Grove as the example, are $1,200 a month. My property tax estimate, 1.2% a year, 1.2% of the sales value. Insurance estimate, you're not paying for parking, 150 for PG&E and 150 for internet. And so you have like your total monthly housing expenses of $8,900. And then you kind of come down here and you're like, okay, well, if I have this and the bank is asking me to have a 43% debt to income ratio, sometimes I can go as high as a 49% debt to income ratio, but, standard is 43. What is the minimum monthly income I need to qualify for this loan? And then what is the minimum annual income I need to afford this property? So you need to be making about $250,000 a year and not have any other debts, right? Whether that's student loans or car payments or whatever, right? Like, let's say your car payments are $1,000 a month, and suddenly that gets bumped to $275. Now, what's the difference between a $1,200 HOA and a $400 HOA? About $20,000 in annual income, $2,000 a month. So kind of cool what you can figure out.
Yeah. Super interesting.
Anyway, so that's kind of what I was seeing in the math that I'm doing these days. What do you got?
Okay. So I was looking at a little bit, I guess kind of similar category, maybe a little bit higher, but the first place I saw, let me share my screen, was this single family home on Douglas Street in Noe Valley. What I thought
Look at
was,
that price.
I know, and what's interesting is it actually sold for 185 in 2018, and they did
Oh, in
some
2018.
improvement in 2018. So you see, and spoiler alert, this place went pending yesterday. So you
After
see
how long? Like a week?
12
weeks?
days, 12
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, really nice finish
Wow.
level, has some views. Just a really pretty property, both bedrooms downstairs.
Uh-huh.
A little bit smaller of a lot, which I think, let me get to the yard space. See, it's kind of like, yeah, it just feels a little bit small. But
Yeah.
I think at that price point, to get into a single family home in Noe Valley, now I would imagine that there was a good amount of competition on this one, just given that they put in an offer date and went pending right away, meaning that it was a clean offer that came through.
Yeah.
But yeah, to find something like that, I think that that's kind of the interesting question, and we're sort of seeing that now. It's like, can you get a condo in Noe Valley for 1.4, or a single family home in maybe like the Excelsior or Bernal on the south side in the same price point? And how do people think about that
I like that they
trade-off?
had that Tesla charger. Did you get a sense for what this went into contract for?
I didn't ask yet. I was just kind of browsing, but I'll definitely follow up because I'm curious to see what happened with this one. Because it's an interesting strategy from a listing perspective, to price it so low and,
Yeah.
hopefully drive some interest. But, there's no way that this is getting into the price that they bought it for. So they're definitely taking a loss. The question is, how far down did that go?
Speaks to our buyer strategy, right? Which is to make that dumb offer on the property so that you're part of the story. Because the story on this one's
Exactly.
super interesting, right? Trying to figure out what's actually going on here.
Exactly. And it's like, maybe there were 4 offers or 5 offers, maybe there were 2, and,
Yeah.
coming in with what is a stupid offer might not be so stupid, but the only way to really find that out is to participate in the offer process.
Yeah. Otherwise you're locked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. Yeah. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Were
Yeah.
you looking at this one for yourself?
Yeah, myself, I think, I have some people looking though, and, kind of like, Upper Noe Valley, Twin Peaks area, and just kind
Yeah.
of see what's out there. Like I saw a condo, I think it was on Grandview, but
Mhm.
similar price point for a condo versus a single family home. What can you get? It seemed like, value is here.
Yeah. I mean, we just sold 1,500 square foot condo on Grandview for 154, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Too bad. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then next property I saw, I also wanted to see this because we had sold 59 Jersey Street earlier in the year, so right down the way.
Yeah. You've
Amazing
been blowing me
location,
about this one.
amazing location in Noe Valley, right off of Church Street. So really in the heart of it, super sunny. Like I think the thing that really stood out to me about this place was just like the finish level on everything. It felt really just elevated. It's a 2 unit building, parking, has a nice yard with it, priced at 1.7. So,
Can I read you the subject line from the agent on this one? She was
yeah,
advertising the first open house on Thursday. She said, "Extra tasty and first open house tonight." So I wonder if she had food.
I hope so. I mean,
Yeah,
people are going all out with their open houses these
people are
days.
going on it. Yeah, like that party that
Champagne
they
and
had at Clubhouse.
caviar.
Yeah, champagne and caviar. Yeah, on a Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah, but it
I mean, this is
worked.
a really cute, nicely updated, nicely
Yeah.
painted, nicely staged.
Yeah, yeah, I think just the finish level on it, it felt a little more elevated,
Yeah. Yeah, and
and
that
then
part of Jersey Street between Dolores and Church.
yeah, and then
Beautiful yard.
beautiful yard, so
No parking though, right?
no, there is parking tandem,
Oh, tandem.
yeah,
Cool. Great. All right. I mean, 1.7 you said? Yeah,
yeah,
1.695.
1.7, yeah,
I mean, it is kind of strategy right now for a lot of agents to price it closer to um, where their sellers will actually take the offer, right? And then kind of hang out and wait and anchor everybody's thinking a little bit higher. Um, so that's a hugely interesting departure from what we saw in February, March, April, where you're pricing things five, $700,000 under where they ultimately sold. Um, yeah, it's a little tricky though. Don't you feel it's a little tricky? It's like, what are they actually trying to do here right now?
well, I mean, that's what I was thinking about that single family home on Douglas, it's like, what do you
Right,
want? Where do you let go of the property?
right.
To me, it seems like, motivated seller.
Yeah,
They're trying to get it low, obviously, to be comfortable pricing it at 1.5 when you bought it for 1.85 4 years
yeah,
ago.
yeah, yeah. Lots of trust in that agent.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's something that I have been very sensitive to lately too, is really kind of thinking about this concept of like, what is that floor price that somebody would realistically let go of it? So really, what did they buy it for? Putting on maybe like a extra 8% for just like the process of listing it plus improvements. And it's like, where is that gap? So I feel like what I've been seeing is more places where people did buy, into like this place on Jersey Street. They bought it in 2007. You know that you're in the realm of
You're in the
possibility
money.
with
Yeah.
them. You're in the realm of possibility versus a place where they're really just trying to skate by.
Yep. No, that's an important point. Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for sharing your insights and hopping in when I couldn't go tour. And I was happy to do the same for you. Obviously, we both saw a lot more properties. Just to give like a little rundown: 1452 Bush, 1001 Pine, 1591 Jackson, 1908 Leavenworth. So like the list goes on. We saw a lot of properties all in that like million to million and a half range and have a lot of opinions. So yeah, if you're interested in any of those, reach out to us and we'll be happy to talk about them.